1 p.m. Present from the committee with us, we have Counselor David Bartley, Counselor Linda Vacan online, and myself, Counselor Israel Rivera. Counselor Jenny Rivera had let me know that she is not able to make it due to her having to feel better after having surgery. So let's all, yes,
You feel better.
let's all hope and wish her the best. And with us in council chambers, we have Counselor Carmen.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to take number 1 off the table, please.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. I'll make a motion to receive the minutes from March 13th. They look good to me.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll have to do the hybrid vote.
Yep, I got that right
Yes.
here. I got it right in
I'm
front
here
of me.
as well.
Oh, okay, and we also have Counselor Mag McGrath Smith. And then I'll entertain a motion to take a roll call vote that for the purpose
So moved.
of this meeting would be applicable to all motions to remove items from the table, place items on the table, package items together, or suspend rules unless there is an objection. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Oh, that's my.
All in favor?
Grab one from over there. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
Aye.
aye. All right.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to suspend our rules, take together as a package agenda items 7 and 8.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, perfect. Item 7 was filed by Councilor Tessa Murphy Ramboliti, ordered that the city examine and study the Schedule A increases that were recommended by the salary study completed in 2014, so that we can implement salary adjustments that are competitive and more aligned with neighboring municipalities in order to attract and retain city employees. And item 8 was also filed by Councilor Murphy Ramboliti, ordered that the Schedule B and C of Ordinance 235 be updated as appropriate with competitive salaries to attract and retain employees. With us, we have Damaris online to represent the Human Resources Department around this.
Hi, everyone.
Aye.
Real quick, before you start, Damaris, I see that Councilor Tessa Murphy Ramboliti just signed in. Let me give her a second to introduce the orders because she actually filed them, and then you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am just gonna be very brief. The Personnel Department and other city departments have been working really hard, including Damaris, to put together a plan, a picture for us as a body to really be able to see what these newly reflected salaries could look like and what that would require of us. I really filed this order in collaboration with other city departments who were just trying to bring certain positions together and have them reflect a competitive salary. I think sometimes we all see that we do these piece by piece. And so we're trying to avoid doing that and really take a holistic approach to this. So I just want to thank Damaris for being here tonight. I recognize that she is filling in at the last minute for Kelly, who is unable to be here. So I'm going to turn it over to her. And I thank the chair for letting us discuss this. And any questions that we can't answer tonight, we can definitely follow up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking things out of order and listening to this topic first. We did a salary study with surrounding cities. I sent over the information to Jeffrey, and I believe you guys have packets.
Yes.
Okay, so we did Chicopee, West Springfield, Westfield, Chelsea, and Northampton. And we collected the data mostly from FY24's budget and some union contracts. A lot of the positions are at-will employees, so it's very hard to get a range for them. But we did reach out to other human resources departments to get as accurate information as possibly that we could. On the bottom of the salary studies, there were 3 positions that weren't listed on the Schedule A position that we should update that, and they're listed below. And then we looked at Schedule B and did the same thing with the same surrounding cities for the salary study. What we were proposing was that not to change the ranges that we currently have, but to eliminate 1 and 2 and move everyone up so that they're still in the ranges that were set forth prior to this, just to make everyone in line with salaries that are, again, from the surrounding cities. There were a couple of department heads that were moved grades just to fit in line, again, with the salary studies that we received from the surrounding cities. And we did the same thing with Schedule B. I know Schedule C is on to be talked about, but after referring with the law department, I think we need more time to do some research on Schedule C, as there are more board members that are either should or shouldn't be on this list. So yeah, that's going to take a little bit of more research on that, so we can probably table Schedule C. And yeah, I can take any questions or try to clarify anything.
Thank you. So if I'm looking at this real quick, and we're saying that we're going to eliminate Schedule 2 or 1 and 2, that means that we're going to move library assistant and reference library assistant and custodian up to where the archivist level is?
No, so library assistant and reference library assistant currently are in grade 1. They would move up to grade 3. The custodian is currently a grade 2. They would move up to a 4.
Okay.
And so forth.
Okay, I got you now. All right.
So everybody moves up 2 grades to fall in line with the current salaries in the surrounding city.
All right. Counselor Vacan?
I had to unmute myself.
No worries.
Thank you. So my understanding was that we needed modifications to the salary ranges to be competitive, but it sounds like you're saying our ranges are okay, but you're looking to bump people up 2 steps to deal with pay issues. So I've asked this question before, maybe not when you were there, but when we established these grades, Attorney Dupre and his firm went through and rated all the positions relative to complexity, duties, against a bunch of arenas, and that is how the grade was determined. The pay within the grade can be determined by other things, but I guess my request would be to get a review and feedback from our consulting labor attorney relative to changing these grades, because it sounds like what you're really wanting to do is move the people up more steps to a higher pay level, if I'm understanding correctly. Am I hearing you correctly?
So yes, it would be moving people up grades. This was reviewed by Attorney Dupree, and his message, give me 1 second to pull it up. So yes, we didn't need to change the salary changes, just reclassifying based on what other communities pay. It makes sense to do it this way. And then he just wanted to make sure that we kept the 2 higher grades as well, which nobody was currently in those grades. I think it was 17 and 16. Nobody was currently in those grades, so I didn't put them on, but I definitely can put them back on. He did it.
So do we have that communication from our consulting attorney? Because it sounds like he's saying he sees the issue relative to the pay, but I'm still not clear that he's seeing that the positions needed to be changed in terms of how they're graded. Is he saying all the 1, 2, and 3 grades should now be 3 and there's no difference between them? Because I didn't hear him saying that.
I can email him back and ask him for more clarification as to what his understanding and what his view on this is.
That would be great because he's the one that established these grades in the first place. So
Yep.
that would be very helpful.
Yep, I will
you.
send him an email and then I will have that communicated to you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a
Thank
lot.
Thank you, Damaris. Just I guess for the sake of having the opinion or his review in writing, it does make sense to have that communication for all of us. If you could share that,
Okay.
that would be great. But I think I heard a little bit of both. But anyone else? Councilor McGrath-Smith.
So I'm looking at the Schedule A grid here, and where is the city engineer?
He's in PSA.
Okay, so it wouldn't, but didn't we talk about it moving to Schedule A? Under a
I
new,
think it's still in the talks, so I didn't include it into this proposal because it was still in the works. And I believe the chief procurement officer is also in the talks, so I didn't include those people.
okay. And if, I know we're still in talks concerning it, but do you know what grade they would fall under? I'm just trying to refresh my memory from the last meeting.
The engineer and chief procurement, I wouldn't have that information. I think Kelly would have that, and I can definitely make a note of that to get more clarification on.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? So, give me 1 second. Are we all in agreement? Would this be in order that we agree with the way it is, or are we waiting to hear back from Attorney Dupre via email?
If I could, is it possible for us to move this with a recommendation to council with the request that that language come in before this is brought up in council?
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
Second, on the discussion, Councilor Vacan.
So I would like to have the information before we send it to council, because if we are merging steps to give more money, that's one thing. But if we're merging grades and regrading positions, I just want to understand what the rationale is behind that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I guess,
I'd like to make a motion to table till we get the information and Kelly can come into the next meeting.
so you're making a motion on top of the motion that was already made
Yes, to table.
after it was under discussion?
Well, we can't debate under a tabling motion, but I wanted to hear what the discussion was under the motion, which I didn't know what she was going to say. So
Okay, do I hear a second for the table?
that's all.
Well,
Councilor Bartley.
yeah, I hate to lay stuff on the table and if people want to talk some, so I'll hold on, I'll keep my powder dry on that one, so. But if everybody's all set, yeah, can I just get, before I Well, can I say something before I
Go ahead.
So I don't want to second it yet because I don't want to get anybody uptight, but I'm of the opinion that I'd rather have a real clear knowledge of everything. I like the way this is laid out here because it helps me really grasp it. And we want to be as supportive as we possibly can to all our city employees. And I get the fact that we're in government and we kind of sweep everybody in under a, pull everybody along at the same time. I understand that. I worked in government long enough to understand that part too. So it's, and we want to be fair to everyone. And I kind of want to put this truthfully to bed, all the stuff about the salary stuff and all the rest of that. I'm kind of hopeful that we're going to have a little better fiscal situation. For example, Mr. Chair, do we have the free cash numbers? Well, I know the answer, obviously, is we don't. We're coming up pretty close to the last quarter of the fiscal year. So now and I don't have a timetable on when this is going to be implemented. Mm-hmm. So it's a question of not fully comprehending everything. And I get the fact that this has been talked about for a while with studies, but let's keep in mind, we did give a lot of very significant raises at the last budget. Very significant. And still that department has left. So, I mean, to me, that puts a pin in the balloon about everything's about salary. I'm not buying that. So there's I just think we need to get a better feel for what it is. And so I'd rather see Mr. Dupre's written analysis. So that's just my take. Thank you.
So then that's a second.
Sorry for being so long.
That's a second.
So,
Well, again, I don't want to cut nobody because once we motion a table,
I can withdraw my motion, and we can move
Damaris?
forward with the tabling motion. That's fine.
Damaris has her hand up.
Damaris, you have your hand up?
Yes, I understand the needing more information for Schedule A and moving forward with getting Attorney Dupre's opinion. But I do want to remind that we have Schedule B as well. So maybe we can table A and maybe try to move B forward if possible, if you guys want to take a look at that. Or is B number 8?
B is number 8. We took them as a package, but we can probably, yeah. Councilor Bartley?
just through the chair to Damaris. Okay, I'm seeing the, okay, Damaris, I'm sorry, I need to go to page 2. That would have been helpful. Okay. Okay, so the way I look at it, if you look at it rationally, Damaris, you see the mayor's salary getting a 25% raise. You see the clerk's salary, and I could do the calculation, and the treasurer's salary getting probably 13% raise. You see the city council salary getting a 10% raise. So much for making it equal for everybody. You follow me? So you're skipping everybody on the other one, Schedule A, up 2 grades. You're making that uniform across the board. And then when you come to this, mayor gets a 25% raise, clerk gets a different percentage raise, treasurer gets a different percent raise, councilors get a 10% raise. How's that equitable?
So I didn't do percentage.
And Damaris, it's totally rhetorical. It's completely rhetorical. But I'm in no way going to raise the mayor's salary at a higher percentage than a city councilor. So if you want to come back to me with a $1,000 raise for city council, I'd probably support that. And if you want to come back to me with a comparable 10% raise for the mayor, I'd probably support it. And similar for the clerk and the treasurer. I mean, those are, and let's be honest, treasurer, we're hopeful that thing gets transitioned out after we jump through all our hoops. So I guess my position is if we're going to do it equitable for one, and I think we should consider doing equitable for all ends. That's my take. Thanks.
Okay, so just for clarification, Mr. Bartley, the salary study for the surrounding cities is, you wouldn't take those numbers into consideration, so you would rather do a percentage to increase everyone on Schedule B.
I didn't say that. I said to make it equitable is what I said. So, in other words, while I do like for informational purposes to know what surrounding cities and towns do, certainly not beholden to it. I mean, certainly Chicopee would probably be the most comparable one to us. Maybe Westfield too. You know, frankly, I mean, but those are, I mean, they're just different budgets, different governments. But and I like the fact you got Chelsea in there. I think that's helpful. West Side as well. I don't know. And if we're going to do it one way uniformly, I'd rather just kind of keep it on the same track. At the same time, and I'll end this way. I don't really care as a city councilor if we get a raise or not. I'm just being clearly I'm being rhetorical, but I've been very happy with the 10,000 my whole career. I don't really care. And truthfully, city council presidents, I always felt that, and present company included, I always felt that they went the extra mile, and they should probably get a little higher thingamajig than 1,000. So I mean, I don't know what other city council presidents get, whether it's a extra stipend or what, but because I didn't see that in here. So is it in here? Other city? Thanks, Counselor. So I'm sure it's here somewhere, but it's just one of those things where I guess I'd like to. Yeah, there it is. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you. Yeah. So okay. So that was with even out me looking at this. There looks like they're getting. Except for Westfield's, they're different cats in Westfield. So I think we all understand that.
We love our friends in Westfield.
We do. I got a lot of friends in Whip City, no question about it. Done a lot of business over there. So, but you know, they are what they are. So I guess I'd be wanting to sort of revisit that thing about the city council president too. So that's me. I've been talking too much. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Bacon, and then I'll recognize you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only question was going to be if we could know what the cost of these changes in Schedule A and B that are being proposed would be. Thank you.
I can definitely give you a figure. Most people will not be increasing because they were at the higher end of the range, and so when they were bumped up, they are now at the lower end of the next range. So there's really not too much of a difference, but I can give you an exact figure the next time. So,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia.
Motion to suspend all mayor's addresses.
Motion. I hear a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
And the treasurer too, if the
And the treasurer.
Okay, just
All,
in case.
all in favor?
Aye.
At a committee, at a subcommittee meeting?
Yeah,
Whatever works.
we usually have to do that, yeah, usually, just for formal.
That's the first time I saw it. I just want a couple of things just to clarify and make note, but first things first, just so you guys let you know, I had no idea, I knew that I've empowered Kelly and Lisa to really look into this, and it's not a bad idea to table to allow them to come in and kind of explain their way of the land here with these proposals. But just as far as the elected officials, I've been out of that conversation complete. This is the first time I'm hearing. I just want for the record here that I am not asking for a 25% raise before people out there in the community start thinking the mayor wants to. But I know that Lisa and Kelly have been doing their due diligence and trying to understand, which ultimately result in these proposals that are in front of you as far as elected officials are concerned, Schedule A's and Schedule B. Schedule A, what's in front of you is to shift the range than what's currently in the ordinance. So even if you approved it right now, I think there's only one person that's going to see a bump. Everyone else is not getting a bump. That's just shifting that range to be caught up with now so that there's more flexibility to continue with annual increases. I know we're working on performance evaluations and all those other things. But just to let you know that when we're going into the next fiscal year, there's no, we're not, once you shift that range, we're not here to give everybody. The changes that you have made to date, the turnover has been, actually, I think there's only one person really that we lost after we did the bump, and that was the Board of Health director. Other than that, retention has been better than what we've seen in a while, at least what's being shared with us. Obviously, there's still more work to do, right? We're working on the city engineer. That's really the only one we're really working on. But other than that, the comment about, we giving everybody these, and people are leaving anyways, I just want to clarify that's not true. People are not leaving anyways. We lost one person. They found a better opportunity even after we made a change, but we kept everybody else where if those changes were made. And these new changes in front of you, like I said, it's just to shift that range for that Schedule A, but no one in there is going to, I think there's only one position, which I think is the library director, that's going to get that bump that we would have to ultimately, yes, budget for. But there's not going to be 10, 20 employees getting a significant bump because you shifted this range or anything. So I just wanted to make those clarifications. As far as Schedule B is concerned, remind me what Schedule B is? The elected officials, yeah. None of the elected officials, I know that Kelly and Lisa, working with Russ, are doing their due diligence, and it'd be great if we give them an opportunity to come in to explain more on how they got to those. But just so you know, none of us, this is the first time I hear about that, so I don't want people out in the community to think that the mayor is trying to shift his salary up, and that's far from the truth. And that's it.
125 though. 125. That's crazy. So right now, what's on the table is to table both items 7 and 8. Okay.
On the motion?
Yes.
On the motion,
You do a roll call, what do you do?
all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. I'm gonna do a roll call vote just in case. Counselor Bacon,
Yes.
Counselor McGrath Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Bartley,
Yes, sir.
and Counselor Rivera. Yes, 4 yeas. Entertain a motion to take up items 2, 3, and 4 as a package.
Motion to suspend the rules and take items 2, 3, and 4 together as a package.
Here a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 2 is filed by Counselor Jordan. Order that the City Council review and adopt the mayor's proposal for the city financial policies by ordinance. Item 3, communication from Mayor Joshua Garcia, emails providing feedback from various department heads in regards to financial policies manual. And 3 is City of Holyoke Financial Policies Manual from Division of Local Services, Massachusetts Department of Revenue. So I believe this is what you're here for, right? Oh. Where's that one?
So should we suspend the rules to take 2, 3, and
It's 2, 3, 4, and
9 together as a package? So we can also discuss the CAFO role?
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then 9 was filed by Councilor McGee. Order that the position of Chief Administrative and Financial Officer be created and added to Schedule A. With us, we have the mayor and I believe the treasurer too at the same time. If you guys both want to come in. We also have Marcia with us. Marcia? Okay, my bad. I'm sorry, Marcia.
Good evening.
And Marcia is from the Division of Local Services, right?
Oh, thank you.
If I'm saying it correctly.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Feel free to do
Thank
your
you,
thing.
Mr. Chairman. So, the continuation of the conversation about establishing the CAFO position was tabled, remember, at the last meeting, and also talking with the chair. I suggested it'd be a good idea to bring up the policies manual and couple that, which he graciously accepted and put it on the agenda. And the reason for that is because obviously, since we've been following this and having these conversations, there's been a lot of talk, good questions about how the CAFO will operate within our current environment until, actual changes are made, right? Like, if the treasurer's elected and these other roles, who's responsible to, how does that work? And so I referenced that in that policies manual, it helps kind of clarify that, like, in our existing environment, if we approve this CAFO, how would the CAFO work with the departments to get through budget planning and processes and our other obligations around municipal finance management. So Marcia, we obviously, as you're aware, we worked with the DLS. Marcia authored the policies manual that's in front of you, and she can speak more to it. What we want to do with this policies manual is to get it codified. This was something that Councilor Jordan was really, and I agreed with him, get it codified so that no matter who comes into these roles, it's clear what the expectations are, the best practices are as far as their individual responsibilities, whether if it's the assessor, the treasurer, the tax collector, all the financial management, as well as in that policies manual, what our agreements are to do with any of our reserves, whether if it's free cash when it's certified, how much of that should we be investing in our stabilization, our responsibility around capital planning. If you haven't had a chance, and you're a municipal geek like me, if you read that, things start to make a whole lot of sense, and to achieve the continuity that we're looking for and making sure that we're holding the different folks involved in this process accountable. Obviously, I think making it codified in our ordinance gives us all the leverage to be able that, we're all on the same page when it comes to what our individual expectations are. So certainly Marcia's here to contribute to the conversation on a couple of areas. One, obviously, to talk about this policies manual and the DLS's, how they guide municipalities to navigate and implement best practices when it comes to that work. But also, the DLS has been working with the city for about a decade or so with multiple municipal financial management reviews continuously to recommend the CAFO position and why it's important, and she can probably even answer some questions on that front. With that being said, thanks so much for accommodating these two orders together so that we all understand how this all works. And, Rory and I are certainly, we're here to continue to figure this out with you and get to a point where we're finally moving forward on this.
Thank you.
So where do you want to start? Is the question.
I guess I wouldn't mind hearing from Marcia more or less, just explaining or elaborating more about the CAFO position and what the recommendation or why the recommendation and possibly the steps. I mean, we know the steps here, but I guess more or less the where and the why.
Good evening. I would be happy to speak to that. I'm going to do it under the umbrella of the policies. And Mayor Garcia did a great job explaining it, but just a little bit more. To develop the policy manual, we looked at best practices both from cities and towns and just municipal governments in general. We looked at Holyoke's operation currently, the practices that are in place. We looked at your ordinances to bring it all together. The manual is divided into two pieces, a planning part, which is the first part, and that's the capital planning, debt management, financial reserves, the annual audit, things that are more strategic and have metrics and targets as part of it. Then the second part of the manual is the day-to-day operations, such as reconciliations and revenue turnover, tax enforcement, year-end closing, the kinds of things that are the day-to-day operations that need guidance and just structure around them. All of the policies are laid out the same with purpose, and then applicability and scope. And the applicability part is super important because it lays out the roles and the responsibilities. And this is where the CAFO, the Chief Administrative and Financial Officer, comes into play. Right now, when I was going through all of this, my very first questions were, who's responsible for doing this and who is the oversight? And obviously, you have the city council as the policymakers and the mayor making the decisions. But from the financial aspect of the city auditor's office and the treasurer's office and the tax collector, the assessor, how are they all working together? And who is directing them on a day-to-day basis? And that's where your CAFO comes into play as the central point for all of the financial functions. And if you go through the policies, you'll see that very many of them reference the CAFO in an oversight responsibility, making sure all of the pieces are being put together. Something else about the policies, they're somewhat aspirational in that MUNIS, your financial management system, is referenced in the operations policies, reconciliations, turnover, tax collecting. The reason that I say it's aspirational is they were written with the upgrades that I know everybody is working very hard on, and I know that that's a huge effort and undertaking with multiple steps. But in the end, you have a great system that needs to be used as it can be. So right now, there's a lot of paper processes, and the policies are written to the next step, the way you want to be doing them, the most efficient way of doing them, using the system, eliminating a lot of the paper. So that was the whole development process, and the putting in the CAFO, putting in those responsible for it. One of the day-to-day operations policies is the year-end closing, and I know that that's something that is being talked about right now. I heard somebody mention, free cash and that it's not done, and talking to the treasurer earlier about wanting to have that done in the fall instead of the spring. So the policy lays out who's responsible for what piece at what point of the year. So come the end of the season, the end of the fiscal year into the fall, it's all laid out, and using the system with the proper oversight, hopefully that can all be accomplished.
And I'd add to that what we're talking about is strengthening internal controls and supporting opportunity for continuity. And so right now, when Marcia says, who's in charge, right? We all know in our current system, the mayor's in charge to offer that oversight. But the structure that we have is very dependent on cooperation, which is another conversation happening at another committee that we're trying to figure out how to move things around. But also, it's going to be to the best of the knowledge of whoever the elected mayor is. And so we have a system right now in our city where our municipal finances is being managed by elected politics. And so couple that with the idea that, it's great. I came in with a little bit of knowledge and some experience, so we got some things going. There's certainly people in this role a whole lot smarter than me in this area that can help with reducing liability and continuing to manage the resources. But also, I was going to say, I lost my whole train of thought. I was on fire too. So yeah, we're talking about strengthening internal controls and making sure that we got that quarterback of the football team. I remember what I was going to say. So, right now as a mayor, even though I bring in some level of knowledge, which is great and it's helped, there's still a lot more we got to do. I've explained to you guys before that my role has been both inward and outward. And so I've been the internal manager and I've been the elected mayor for all the outside of City Hall things. So that means that when I'm out there being the mayor, there's things internally that needs immediate attention by the person in charge, which is the mayor, that has to be on hold until I'm dealing with whatever I'm doing out there, or emergencies happen, I got to stop what I'm doing and go out. And so there's, and that's great. I can operate and we'll get it done. We'll figure it out. But one day I won't be here and it'll be somebody else with a different level of energy that they bring to the table. And so that's when we go backwards as a city. Every time there's a learning curve, things you start doing well, things are picking up. Now you got a new treasurer, new mayor, and then we go backwards because it's a learning curve. Municipal finance is complex. Mass general law, not a lot of people come into these roles knowing it off the hand. And then we got to figure it out and play that game again. This system that we're trying to bring in improves internal controls and ensures continuity when there's turnover and when we adopt the policies manual and evolve the policies manual as more change comes, because I know you're talking about changing the treasurer elected to appointed, potentially adopting a financial department type system. We'll have to improve the policies manual and the ordinance. Those are the things that are going to ensure consistency and accountability. And so that's the lens we're coming from, and certainly appreciate the DLS, helping us understand as we come together as a community to figure this out, because I know we have a lot of different perspectives on it, and that's okay. And we're learning and we're trying to figure out, and I'm hoping, by having Marcia help in this conversation, it just helps guide us to make the informed decisions that we're all trying to do right now.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor McGrath-Smith.
I know that we've been talking about the concept of restructuring under our finance department in several spaces, including here, it's come up in finance, it's come up in charter and rules. And one of the pieces that I've sort of been wanting is a flow chart. So even if we don't physically have a flow chart, if there's a way to talk us through what that flow chart would look like. So if the very top of that is, the mayor, and your direct report underneath you is the CAFO, and then our other people direct reports to the CAFO, but not to the mayor now, right? And who is in that finance department? Does that mean that suddenly the chief procurement officer and personnel are direct reports to the CAFO in some ways, right? So I'm interested to hear about that dynamic that you're envisioning, especially in lieu of the treasurer role. And also I've heard some conversation around potentially merging roles between the collector and the treasurer. I'd love a sense of what that means. Or having a treasurer with an assistant. So just walk me through what this potential restructuring looks like.
So yeah, we can certainly work on that flow chart, because I know visually it'll be a lot easier to follow than what we're about to explain. And so right now there's two things going on. There's the current municipal environment that we have right now, where you have the mayor, right, your treasurer separate from the tax collector, the procurement director is responsible, the mayor, the treasurer elected, tax collector is appointed by the city council, assessor, city council, auditor, city council. And the mayor is both the CEO and CFO of the city, and in charge of managing the process to be sure that all the players are working together. Like I said, quarterback on a football team. So currently the mayor's in charge, but has no direct oversight or authority over to hold folks accountable, right? There's gaps sometimes Right now, we're lucky we have great people in positions and everybody's working together and fantastic. If we might get an elected treasurer that might not want to play in a sandbox. And I think we've had that before between the treasurer and the tax collector. They weren't communicating in the past, former treasurers and tax collectors. And so, there's gaps there. When I say there's two things happening, under the current infrastructure, the policies manual and the CAFO, in that policies manual, it's the CAFO is an extension of the mayor right now as it stands until the other piece of this changes. So if we start on July 1 with a CAFO that would start within the current infrastructure, that's just, again, somebody much smarter than me that is facilitating on my behalf internal stuff. I'm still in charge. Treasurer's still in charge. Assessor's still in charge. Everyone's still within their environment, except now we have an expert at the table that can better facilitate and guide accordingly. So that's one piece. The second component is at committee level, you have bigger structural changes that are being proposed. Changing the position of treasurer from elected to appointed. Once that's done, then there's the financial department that consolidates the treasurer collector. And then I think it gives the CAFO real oversight authority. And that's the executive function. I know what's important to you is just equally as important to me, and that's the checks and balance system. So the legislative check is the auditor. We're not changing that of anything that's appointed by the council, and I have no say over that position. And nothing gets paid out, nothing should be paid out without the accountant, the city auditor there, giving it its stamp of approval. And if there's any funny business, you have the auditor reporting to the council, hey, red flags, just to let you know. So there's your legislative check. And on the executive side, we're talking about, that's where all your changes are coming in. That's currently at committee at the moment for the home rule petition. Once, let's say that passes, now we got to update our financial policies manual because we got a new financial environment. And now you have a CAFO that actually has oversight authority over a combined treasurer collector and whatever else is included in that order for that change. Those are the two pieces of it. And to your point, as far as visual learners are concerned, that's something that we can do that kind of shows how those two environments work. And Marcia, and I know Rory's going to say some words, but Marcia, if you had some clarifying points or something you want to add, Rory also, I think, wants to clarify some things too.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit more about my perspective, having been in the role as treasurer now for a little over a year now, elected after being appointed. What I see, how I see this evolving naturally is by adopting the CAFO ordinance, putting it to Schedule A, and allowing the creation of that position. It's going to do everything the mayor just mentioned, but it's also going to be able to allow for the changes that are necessary in real time, right? So I've been very clear, and I know Charter and Rules met again this week. I watched the meeting. It was a well-run meeting, so thank you. I look forward to that ballot question, hopefully being put on the November ballot, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But when we think about the way the treasurer's position is currently structured and all of the things that the treasurer currently does, I'm a big proponent of merging treasurer collector, but you would not be able to merge those two positions as they're currently constructed into one, even with some additional staff, because there are just functions that don't naturally dovetail with each other. The treasurer right now oversees the payroll operation for the city, including the school department. They manage the debt service. They are responsible for the investment portfolio for the city. They work with the retirement board. And then, in addition to that, they collect all of the cash receipts, all of the revenue that comes in, including the revenue that's collected by the tax collector that's ultimately turned over to the treasurer. And on top of that, they're managing the tax title process. I think in a number of communities where you see combined treasurer collector, you don't necessarily see them doing all of those other things as well. Maybe they're doing the revenue piece. They're collecting the cash receipts. They're handling the tax billing. And I think that's a more natural fit. I think that as this CAFO position evolves, some of those other duties that are delineated right now in this policies manual that Marcia talked about, that first part where we're talking about debt management, we're talking about investment policies, capital reserves, and how those functions that currently exist within the treasurer's office would naturally move to a CAFO position. And I think in a number of communities, that's exactly what you see. You see a CAFO who has maybe some investment banking experience, has some experience dealing with debt management, all those types of things, taking that on. They're not chasing down.
They know how to financially forecast.
Exactly, financially forecast, all of those things, but they're not chasing down kind of important to the employee. So I don't want to belittle when I say mundane, but kind of mundane payroll issues. You know, this person's task deduction, FSA deduction was doubled up, or we need to do this, we have to do. They're chasing that down at the same time. They're dealing with the registry of deeds and incorrect deed reference on a tax title and a Scrivener's error. That's the way it currently exists. In order to move this city forward, and just so we're clear, what's so beautiful about this report that Marcia and her team put together is it's the culmination of well over a decade's worth of work that DLS has invested. I want to say the first report was issued in 2007 or 2008, where they did an analysis, and then subsequently did an analysis in 2014, 2015, and then a third analysis in 2019. They all came to the same conclusion: get rid of the elected treasurer, bring on a CAFO. But that was just talking about some structural changes, not the roadmap on how we get from point A to point B, and that's exactly what Marcia and her team has done. So I would love to put together a flow chart on what this would look like, an organizational chart. I know that Chairman Rivera likes organizational charts. So do I. Yeah, I think we all do. And to the mayor's point about the auditor, that is so crucial. I've really come to respect that role in a way that I had not previously. Not that I ever didn't understand it, but the importance of that role being independent, and the importance of that office having even more oversight in some of our larger departments, whether it's the police department, DPW, some of these large, very complex financial organizations where the department heads are we want them out dealing with potholes, and we want them dealing with crime or dealing with public safety. For them to be chasing down receipts and everything else, to have those types of departments to have more ability, this is how we're going to improve the city for generations to come, and not be here in 5 or 10 years having the same conversations that have happened in this very chamber going back at least 15 years, if not longer. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilor Vacan, any questions? So, with no questions on the motion to approve. Am I hearing?
Well, the question, so this is under which order? This is a combined, because we suspended the rules to take up several at once. And in terms of the second one, order the city council review and adopt the mayor's proposal for the city's financial policies by ordinance. So I think it makes sense for us to move that forward to council with recommendation, and I would make a motion to do so.
You're saying only two?
Linda has a question.
Councilor Bacon.
I hear the motion being made to approve the financial policies. My concern is that with embedded in the financial policies is the CAFO position that doesn't yet exist. So I would be open to supporting the financial policies if for the current time, the CAFO language is changed to mayor, because according to our charter, these financial policies are under the direct supervision and control of the mayor, and all of the positions have been given day-to-day supervision to the mayor by the council, even our appointments. And then, as has been mentioned, as we move forward, if the position, if and when it's created and funded, I mean, because we're talking about adding significant to the overhead, and I'm not seeing any of the efficiencies laid out yet. So I would support it if we change CAFO to mayor until such time as we have ironed out treasurer, collector, CAFO.
So I am happy to
Offer that amendment, and if it's accepted, then I would second it.
1 second, Councilor Rigger. Mayor Garcia.
It's a good point. So if you, I don't know if you have it in front of you, the financial policies manual, everywhere that says CAFO says, in direction of the mayor, on behalf of the mayor on it. So whether we have a CAFO or not, the mayor, and it doesn't, the charter is still, the mayor's still in charge whether CAFO's here or not. And if you approve this policies manual with the CAFO in it, even if we don't have the CAFO, the mayor is still, it's still clear in the policies manual and our charter. There's no direct conflict with one or another. And the policies manual makes clear, just as much as the charter makes clear, that it really is the responsibility of the mayor. So if you read the policies manual, everywhere it says CAFO with the mayor, CAFO with the mayor. So it goes hand in hand.
Through the chair, I understand what the policy manual says and what the chain of command is, but it seems to me that to approve the policies with CAFO in it is sort of a oblique way of approving the CAFO. And for now, we do not have a CAFO, and from what I can see, we don't have any way of funding the CAFO available to us yet either. So I'm warm to moving the policies forward, but not with the CAFO language in it that would be by then fiscal policy creating the position. That's my concern about it.
So, thank you. I guess where I'm at then, right, is that we have item 2, 3, and 4, and then we have item 9. And item 9 is the creation of the CAFO. So I'm confused as to where we're at here. So if we vote tonight for the position of the CAFO, then they would both be going together at the same time, moving forward to full council. At full council, the vote can be taken whether or not you want to move forward with the CAFO or you want to split up or devise the language however you want to edit it. I think that for the purposes of tonight and to move this forward, it would make sense for us to kind of take a vote on moving. I'm the chair, so I can't, but I would like to entertain a motion to move them all forward. And then at the full council, we can have that conversation as to what Councilor Bacon is kind of pointing out. But it's up to the will of the body.
So point of order, would it be possible to amend the current motion pending approval of the CAFO position?
Attorney Bissonnette?
Hey, Mayor Mike is here.
Good evening.
Hello.
I heard the question, Counselor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to respond. I think certainly you can send it to the council with that recommendation pending the CAFO. However, as you know, in order for the council to consider it, there would have to be subsequent action on the CAFO in order to make that financial policies manual become effective. As Councilor McGrath Smith points out, it's also on the agenda tonight. So if both were to go before the council at the next meeting, then one could be adopted with that provision. Or if the CAFO definition was adopted, then both could go forward. And I believe at that point, the city could begin advertising under the job description. However, it would be probably around the same time as you would face a funding decision as to the salary in the next budget. So I hope that clarifies things a little bit.
Thank you. So what it sounds to me is that you want to make an amendment to the motion of all of them, 2, 3, 4, 9, moving forward to the full council with the recommendation that you added as an amendment. Councilor McGrath Smith.
Well, it strikes me that I'm speaking just to item 2 because item 3 and 4, it strikes me they would be complied with. We've received it.
Yeah.
And then we would take up 9 in terms of a vote separately.
Well, we took them all as a package, but if we wanted to separate them, I think that would be a separate situation.
We can vote on them separately.
Okay, so then let's vote on 2, 3, and 4. Right? Do we want to independently
My
vote on?
motion is just specific to item 2.
Okay, so then item 2.
To move to council with our recommendation pending approval of the CAFO position, but I also see the mayor's hand.
Mayor Garcia.
I just wanted to clarify on the funding strategy. Like we're gonna see how it's a new fiscal year thing. So as we work on our budget, we're looking at potentially if we make it work financially in our budget and then approved by the council going into the new fiscal year, that's when it'll be there reflected where we can move forward.
Thank you. So for item, go ahead, Councilor Vacan.
So with all the back and forth, I'm lost in terms of what the
I'm almost
amendment
lost too.
currently is. So could that be restated?
It's gonna be it's
for
gonna be
vote?
restated. I'll have Councilor McGrath Smith restate the amendment so that way we're gonna vote only on item 2 now, and then we'll go and vote on 3 and 4 as a package, I believe, and then we'll go to 9.
So can I clarify, because I made a motion and maybe it was just ignored because nobody will second it? But the motion that I made, and you can rule it that it fails if I don't get a second, but the motion that I made is that for now, until such time, the CAFO position is approved, funded, and alive, the policies should refer to the mayor, which is what our charter says, and what is our current law in Holyoke. So
Your motion was amended, though. Your
To what?
motion to what Councilor McGrath Smith is putting forward.
which is,
Okay, Councilor McGrath Smith, can you move forward with the amendment again?
That we, receive and adopt the mayor's proposal for the city's financial policies by ordinance and move it forward to council with a recommendation pending approval of the CAFO position by council.
what does pending approval of the CAFO position mean in your amendment to my motion?
Hold on a second. It's supposed to be a second, yes or a no? Like now we're having open discussion.
I'm seeking clarification because
yeah,
she's
but there was not
amending
even a
my
point.
motion.
There was not even a point of order. Not speaking through. So I hear you, Councilor Vacan, right? But it's either we second it or we don't, and it goes back to your motion.
Right, so you can say the motion fails for lack of a second, and then my motion
Not
is
if somebody's
dead.
making an amendment to your motion, though.
And that's what I'm seeking clarification on, because I'm not sure what she means when she says pending. It sounds like she's saying she's making a motion to approve the policies and we're just waiting for the position to be approved. That's what pending means to me. I'm seeking clarification.
Attorney Bissonnette, can you help out with some clarification? Because it seems like there's some confusion here right now. And I'm trying my best to clarify, but I think that maybe you can help out.
Certainly try again. Pending in this case would mean it doesn't take effect. There is no CAFO, there is no financial policy manual unless and until the position is A, created by the council, which could happen under item 9 tonight, if that's forwarded to the full council, and until it's funded. I think that's the important piece, and as the mayor said, it may be included in the new budget for July 1st. So the action by the amendment, as proposed by Councilor Bacon, would essentially have the effect of not having a springing mechanism. This would have a springing mechanism that if the council takes action to create a position of CAFO, it also creates the financial policies manual ordinance at the same time, having already voted to do so once CAFO comes into existence. Did I just really confuse everybody again?
No, that clarified a lot.
Through the chair, I totally understand what Attorney Bissonnette is saying, but that is not what I'm saying in my motion.
Okay.
In my motion, I'm saying I want the financial policies to be approved. I think the financial policies are good, but that we need to refer to only the mayor in the current policies rather than the CAFO until such time we approve the CAFO and then it could be added. Because the way that I just heard Attorney Bissonnette say it is if we don't do it all, then we don't have policy manual, and that isn't what I'm
Correct.
seeking.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, thank you. So, under the amendment, right? Or let's do this. You're gonna make the motion again, Councilor Bacon, and then we'll see if it gets seconded. And then, if it doesn't, then we'll have Councilor McGrath-Smith make her motion.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we adopt the financial policies, but until such time as a CAFO position is approved and funded, that the policies where it currently states CAFO would state mayor.
Do I hear a second? I don't hear a second, so the motion fails. Councilor McGrath-Smith.
I'll make a motion for us to receive and adopt the mayor's proposal for the city's financial policies by ordinance and to move it to council with our recommendation pending the creation of the CAFO position.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have to do a roll call.
I'm gonna do a roll call next. I was just waiting for everyone to do the A's, yays and nays. Am I taking a yay or a nay? Okay, roll call. Councilor Bacon.
No.
Thank you. Councilor McGrath-Smith.
Yes.
Councilor Rivera. And that's the only people present right now. Councilor Bartley had to step out for an emergency. He said he might come back. So for now, it passes 2-1 to move forward to the council with the language that was cited by Councilor McGrath-Smith. Moving
I'd like
forward.
to make a motion to take up item 3 and 4 and to name that they've been complied with.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Roll call vote. Councilor Bacon.
Yes.
Councilor McGrath-Smith.
Yes.
Councilor Rivera. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to take item 9 and to recommend that the position of Chief Administrative and Financial Officer be created and added to Schedule A.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Under discussion.
Under discussion. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So right now we are in process of looking at the treasurers elected or appointed. and we haven't completed how we're going to do the balance relative to accountability and within the government and the appointing matters. And in this situation, we haven't even begun to touch on the consolidation aspects relative to adding a significant amount of cost and another big executive position to the overhead of our very small city with strapped taxpayers. So I want to see movement relative to that before we're moving on the CAFO. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bacon. Councilor McGrath-Smith?
I absolutely am sensitive to what Councilor Bacon just said. I feel like also in charter and rules, there's a sense of lots of moving parts. And it's possible to just become overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of, sort of how is one domino affecting the others when we don't exactly know how all of it's going to play out. I do think that my value is in moving things forward piece by piece and creating it as we are going. And I just think otherwise the complexity is going to doom us to inaction, knowing that we've been talking about these things for so long. The failed charter commission, where we were talking about so many of these things over 10 years ago. And because we were trying to take it all on at once, it failed. So I understand, I really do what Councilor Bacon is saying. And I think that we have to just keep moving the needle forward and each role creating as much accountability and balance as possible as we move forward here.
Thank you, Councilor McGrath-Smith. I see your hand, Councilor Reagan, before I recognize you. I think for me, real quick, is there's a thing about us being able to do our checks and balances in a way that is effective and efficient for city government. The way things have been done for a long time is because they've been done that way for a long time. It's not to say that people are doing things wrong or like things are bad, but it's just like if there's a better way to get things done, a more effective and efficient way, I think that for me, it makes sense to try to explore that opportunity and kind of get that done. The fear of taking the leap, I get it, but we're in a community that is resilient and has to take leaps from time to time so that we can get noticed and get put out there. And right now, that's what's happening. Councilor Reagan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I reject the implication that my concern relative to the fiscal affordability and process relative to reorganizing the departments is made out of fear. That is not the case, but I do believe we have to evaluate this from all the other perspectives that you have touched upon, but we must give consideration to the cost and the cost benefits relative to the changes we're making. Now, the treasurer consolidation sat in charter and rules jacket for 2 years and didn't move. There is something in between doing nothing and doing everything all at once. We can do things sequentially and accomplish, in my opinion, a more thoughtful outcome than rushing things through because other things languished. So that's my perspective, and I appreciate you letting me share it.
Totally respect it. Thank you, Councilor Bacon. Councilor Bartley just walked into the room. Thank you for gracing us with your presence once again. You, under discussion, want to be recognized?
Yeah, I understand from the chair that there's a motion to move 9 forward. Okay, I'm sure we all read the policy manual and how Marcia and such have wanted the CAFO in place before we implement this. Okay, so that's kind of important. So what do we do? Just because I had to step away for.
So what we did with number two, right? 3 and 4 were complied with. Number 2, we moved forward with the recommendation that Councilor McGrath-Smith had put forward. You have it written down, and she can read it for you.
that the city council receive and adopt the mayor's proposal for the city's financial policies by ordinance, pending the approval of the CAFO position.
So, according to what Mr. Bissonnette had mentioned, that the only way that the CAFO or any of this goes into action is when the CAFO position becomes an actual position, or if it gets funded. So that got moved forward to the full council.
Okay, and in general, I appreciate that. In general, I do support the CAFO, but as we heard in Charter and Rules the other day, and the chairman of Charter and Rules, we disagree on that completely. There's zero possibility that I would support a CAFO with the mayor having the appointment power for collector treasurer. There is 0.0 possibility of that. And I'm not Nostradamus, but I'm going to tell you a 0.0 possibility of having that pass in city council in ordinance with the required 2/3 votes. So somebody's got to back off, okay? The way the charter's written is that there are checks and balances. That's basic civic government. If you take away all that, if you give that power fully for the collector treasurer to the mayor as well, and what I want to give this to this CAFO to the mayor, I've said that all of them should be under a CAFO appointed by the mayor. But I've got a chairman of Charter and Rules and other members, and it was a 2-to-1 vote in Charter and Rules saying give the mayor the power. And now we're saying give the mayor this power. No, that's not how Holyoke government, that's not how any government works. There's checks and balances. So you can't have it both ways. So based upon that, because that's what the recommendation was out of Charter and Rules, and I don't see them bending, so I'm telling you, I mean, you can move this forward. You're not going to get the 5 votes for the CAFO. You're not going to get the 9 votes. I'm telling you that right now. So somebody's got to back off and have a balanced position. So that's my take.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. I really appreciate that. The one thing I would add is, from what I heard from the discussion, right, that the balance lies with the auditor, to my understanding, right, and the auditor is the one that we appoint, and the auditor does the checks and balance pieces. But again, I've only been here about 2.5 years.
Can I just add that?
I got you. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Been here for about 2.5 years, so I'm going through the process and learning. I am a believer of this. Like there's processes and systems in place, so I try to understand those processes and systems so that to the best of my ability, so that I can make my decisions. But go ahead, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, just to go back, and I know we're not a round table here, but I appreciate that. So the government, the way it's set up, there are certain things appointed by the mayor, certain things appointed by the city council. Mm-hmm. And as Marcia, which I don't know if she's still here or not, but as Marcia knows full well, the CAFO has always, for 100+ years, been the mayor. That is the CAFO. Now we're saying, because what I'm hearing is because of the complexity of government, because there's so many things pulling at the mayor, we need to create this position. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem. If we're going to create this position, I want the mayor to have that appointment. But wait a minute. We appoint the tax collector. We've always appointed the tax collector. And we've talked about combining the tax collector with the treasurer. And now we're saying the Charter and Rules chair, as well as the majority of that committee, said, that's fine. Let the mayor have the CAFO and let the mayor appoint the collector treasurer. That's not how checks and there are no checks and balances. That goes right out the window. So I guess we need to hear from to see how we're going to get this to Boston with that, and people are going to have to change their votes, because CAFO, like I said, CAFO is going to sink to the bottom of the ocean next Tuesday night, and if that fails, there's a distinct possibility that won't come up for quite a while again. And so there you go. So I would say think it out.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Mayor?
Yeah, public heard loud and clear. I do, Marcia's here, and I love, like, obviously it's about checks and balances, and it sounds, I know personally, but I haven't been really contributing one way or another to this level of conversation about appointments, because you guys are working on that. Obviously, checks and balance. The as we explained earlier, and I know Councilor Bartley had to take an emergency Your auditor, that's your legislative check, and then we're talking about the executive functions on the mayoral side. But there's definitely several different ways we can. Like, I'm not married to one way or another. I'm just more concerned about the internal control systems to achieve continuity, strengthen internal controls, limit liability. However the confirmations are and whatnot, you figure that out. But, I'm hoping Marcia can step in and perhaps, I don't know if you heard some of Councilor Bartley's remarks. If there is some level of guidance and advice, the comments about not knowing what other municipalities in the Commonwealth that are functioning this way, is there any response that you can offer to help Councilor Bartley just kind of further understand? I do, it sounds like to me there is consensus in wanting to move in this direction, but things are getting hung up with appointments and confirmations and controls and whatnot. So is there some high level advice that you can offer so that it helps kind of, level things out here a little bit, the conversation?
Well, what we are seeing more often is consolidated finance departments led by a finance director or a CAFO, generally depending on the size of the community. And in those consolidated departments, you have the auditor or the accountant, the treasurer, the collector, or the combined treasurer collector, and the assessor. And the reporting relationship is all to the finance director or the CAFO. Each of those individual jobs have responsibilities. They work together, but they're all independent in their roles, so that there are the checks and balances with the internal controls. And again, goes back to the policies, making sure that they are in place and the applicability is designated to the different offices. Now, it's not uncommon in cities to have the city auditor appointed by the city council for an additional step of independence. Less common are the treasurer collector and the assessor. Those are not generally city council appointments. What I can do for you, if it's helpful or if you're interested, is we have a huge database of all the positions and appointments. I can pull some peers of yours and just give you some structures just to see what others are doing. But as I said, there's because of the job requirements, and with the policies and with the people you hire, there's internal controls built in. And the reporting relationship on the day-to-day, making sure the job is getting done, is better handled by somebody closer to the action. And that's where your CAFO comes into play, or the mayor in the building every day.
Thank you.
Just to continue to respond to that through the chair.
Mayor Garcia, my bad.
Yeah, so, and what Marcia just explained is the grand scheme of what happens. Obviously, we don't have to do that, right? We can continue to, but this role is so critical. I am fine of the treasure collector, if that the council wants confirmation, affirmation, appointment, whatever you guys decide, I'm not, you know what I mean? That's, if that's a deal breaker, I'm not going to get hung up on it. I just want to make sure that ultimately we're understanding the systems, honoring the checks and balances that the council agrees to. The systems we're trying to bring forward is all about, it's not about power dynamics or anything. It's strengthening internal controls, ensuring continuity, holding folks accountable to their roles, limiting liability so that we can leverage the resources, the maximum potential that I know is available that we're losing out on to be sure that we're able to better keep up with the needs out there in the community. So if that's the deal breaker, I'm not gonna like argue, you know what I mean? You're hearing that from me right now. So hopefully you guys can get back to the drawing board and continue that conversation. But I don't need the mayor's office, limiting the progress here because we can't agree to who appoints who. We just got to get that CAFO in here.
Thank you for that. That right there is, to me, what's the most important piece, right? What is going to make the city government run efficient and effective for us moving forward, whatever it takes. For that, I saw Councilor Vacan's hand raised. Do you still want to be recognized?
Well, I feel like we're getting a little bit circular in the conversation. And unfortunately, Councilor Bartley missed the earlier discussion where I'm inclined to make a motion to reconsider our vote on the policies, because the motion that I had made to change CAFO to mayor in the current policies was out of a desire to actually approve the financial policies without having to double up and do treasurer, collector, CAFO all in one meeting. I don't see any harm in doing these in a sequential fashion once we have one thing ironed out and another. And it's not that it will need to take another 2, 4, or 6 years. But I am interested in having the financial policies adopted, and I do not see, and I do not believe that one is dependent upon the other. We can establish financial policies without creating a new position. I've run organizations, I've run budgets. This is not rocket science. And so I'm going to make a motion that we reconsider our vote on item 2. And my motion, and if I get a second.
I'll second it for purpose of discussion.
She's discussing right now, though.
Well, I hear you, Mr. Chairman. I feel.
No, that's cool.
I did
I'm
miss the other
explaining
part.
to him what happened in his.
No, that's cool.
No,
That's cool.
So on discussion, I'm hearing it. Go ahead.
On the second, he seconded motion. David, Councilor Bartley second.
Step on your toes.
Under discussion.
If the committee has to decide if we can take it up again.
He just seconded. Motion to take up item 2 again for the sake of reconsideration. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
No. 2-2. Roll call vote.
What fails it? Well, whatever.
What was that?
Go ahead. You got a roll call.
Roll call vote. Councilor Vacan.
Yes.
Councilor McGrath-Smith.
No.
Councilor Bartley.
Yes.
Councilor Rivera. No. That's a split, so it doesn't pass.
Okay, so
Now on to the other motion, unless there's still discussion left.
no, I'm all set. Thank you.
Councilor Bartley. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. So I guess, first off, there's nothing here about power dynamics. So I know when we were talking about the raise earlier, the mayor wanted to make real clear, he didn't ask. Okay, so I realize, but that's just a similar situation. The mayor had nothing to do with 25. Well, my comment has nothing to do with power dynamics. So let me be super clear on that. It has everything to do with the tradition of city government and checks and balances, which is 5th grade civics. That's what it has to do with. So if we've got counselors that are not going, and by the way, it came directly from the chair of Charter and Rules saying the mayor's not going to sign off on it unless the mayor has appointment of power. But you just said right now something completely different. And if that's the case, then I would have no problem supporting a CAFO. I've said that repeatedly, but I am no way going to support a CAFO if the mayor gets appointment of power for the position of treasurer. And the hope is, the expectation has been this whole time since we started this discussion, is that there'll be a combined office. So we already have collector. Why in the world would we give up the authority and get away from 100 plus years of Holyoke government to give up that authority in terms of checks and balances? So I guess I need to have commitments from counselors and from the mayor saying if to remove that language that the Charter and Rules Committee approved, again, saying clearly that the mayor supports this. We heard the finance chair saying the mayor will not sign off on it unless the mayor has appointment power. So those are two committee chairs, Charter and Rules and the finance chair, saying that exact same thing. So it's coming from somewhere, Mayor. I assume they're not making this stuff up. I assume they had conversation with you. I got the floor. It's the time out for sports. This is a city council.
Wait. No, but let's
This is not room one.
The only thing
I'm
is
the mayor.
Councilor Bartley. No, but Councilor Bartley, hold on 1 second though. Like, I'm gonna hear you out and I hear this out, but like, we getting all like, there's too much going on right now. We got to tone it down just a little bit, real quick.
problem.
That's
No
all I
problem.
ask. And then I got you, Josh. Once he's done, I got you. Don't worry about it.
No problem. So
And also, Attorney Bessonette, I got you too. Don't worry about it.
right. Okay. So again, I heard what Linda said. I don't want to go around this too many more times. But again, the mayor got to make his point about the raise. Nobody said the mayor wanted the 20, and I don't want anyone putting words in my mouth and circle around and back channeling me. It's about the power dynamics. That is the last thing this is about. It's about checks and balances, basic civic government. And so when I have two committee chairs and the city council president saying the mayor gets the power for all this, that's two chairs and the city council president. What am I to believe, Mr. Chairman? Hold on, that's rhetorical, obviously. What am I to believe? I'm believing that the mayor had conversations with them, the three of them, saying that I am not going to sign off on a home rule petition unless I get the appointment power. As we all know, the mayor, with anything with a home rule petition, the mayor has a unilateral veto. So you can't have it come back here. If the mayor doesn't sign off on it, it does not go to Boston. So I need to get a commitment from at least those three counselors that the language that they inserted last Monday night to give the mayor appointment gets removed. We even, I thought we were compromising to have it just be neutral language, have it be set by ordinance. Now, I did have a conversation with the city treasurer earlier today, saying, and he's got a hell of a lot more experience in Boston than I do, saying, well, it might get kicked out of Boston because Boston wants to have a party specified within that charter change. And the party would either have to, well, it's one or two, right? And in my opinion, it should not be the executive, because then the balance shifts completely to the executive, Mr. Chairman. So that's where I am at this point. Hopefully that helps. Thanks.
Thank you. So I guess the only one thing I would say on some of this, because I don't want to speak for nobody. That's the one thing. Here, I had the understanding that it would have gone through ordinance too as well. So like I didn't think it was anything that was crazy. I thought in ordinance we'd be able to identify who had the power or whatnot, right? But I heard that not too long ago, that in charter and rules it came up, and that's where it got voted on. Hey, better for me. I don't have to deal with that drama. But ultimately, I guess for me, I want to center us back in what is the most important piece here. And the most important piece is what is going to be the most effective and most efficient way to run our city government. I want to keep reminding the people, reminding everyone that the reason why there is such heated debate and discussion is that we're all passionate to make sure that this is going to happen in a way that becomes the most effective and efficient way for the city of Holyoke. And with that being said, I'm going to recognize the mayor, and then I'll go to Attorney Bissonnette, and then McGrath, Meg, and then Councilor, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and yeah, absolutely. And I say that all the time to the public, that although you hear very passionate debates that come out of the city council chambers, one way or another, we know how to get things done. So I appreciate you saying that. And certainly want to appreciate Councilor Bartley recognizing that this is the city council, and I'm not a city council just as much as he is not the mayor here in the city of Holyoke, although he likes to go around and act like one. Listen, what we're
Mr.
we-
Point of order.
Come on.
Mr. Chairman.
Ja, come on, guys.
Mr.
Come on,
Chairman.
guys.
Well, you know, you want
I
to.
know, no, I had.
I'm gonna listen to that nonsense.
I wasn't, no.
I had to listen to yours.
No, but guys, come on, Josh, please.
So
please.
this is.
I'm going around pretending.
So there
I'm-
is-
Come on, guys.
That's right.
Guys,
Wow.
guys, I don't. Like, so then, what's gonna happen is, we're gonna have to go on the motion.
That's absolutely offensive.
Let's
Come on.
break that down. Let's
No,
break
we don't
down
have-
what that means.
We don't have
Councilor
time.
Bartley.
Come on. We don't.
Come on, we're gonna serve the people of Holyoke, or we're gonna act.
That's, guys,
I'm not gonna tolerate that. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Nah.
What I'm saying is we're talking. He's absolutely right with the checks and balances. The thought of it's hard not to believe that there is power dynamics at play at the moment, and I can't just sit here and act like that's not happening. When we're talking about checks and balances, that is all about dynamics of power. I don't see. I mean, that can't be any more clear. Now, Councilor Bartley is correct that, you know, whatever the chairs has said, yeah, absolutely. I am strongly for the executive function staying with the executive level. The position of treasurer is not a legislative function. It's an executive level position. And so to require a council approval of an executive function, no, I don't agree with that. But I heard Councilor Bartley's plea very loud and clear, and every reason why I'm sitting here right now. Yes, before walking in here, absolutely. Veto it, up and down, throwing it back. I explained pretty clearly. I don't know what he heard. I think everybody here heard me very clearly. Hey, look, if this is going to be I want this. We need this CAFO. If that's going to be the bargaining chip, then fine. So be it. Take the appointment. If all the councilors feel strongly that that position needs to be appointment, you're not going to get any resistance from me. So let's that be clear. I can't stand anybody going around trying to twist or make any misguided information of what's being said, told, what can be, what it is, whatever. Those days are done here.
So thank you for that, Mayor, and thank you for I guess both of you guys for keeping the composure to the best of the abilities that we can right here in this space. And I say that because it could have continued and went off.
There's one more important point, Mr. Chairman, is that the position of treasurer to be changed from elected to appointed was on the ballot not too long ago, and I think it was to be approved by the city council. It died. That, to me, tells me that the public doesn't even want the city treasurer appointed through the city council. You know, so
Right.
These are some factors that are there. Hey, if me supporting the idea of keeping it like that and hopefully it'll pass is the deal breaker, I don't want to get in the way of the ultimate goal.
Right, I heard that. I believe we heard that. I believe, and that's the piece. Yes, and that's why I kind of try to center us in the idea of whatever it takes to move this forward to get a position that will move us in a way where we're moving more effective and efficient. And the fact that the sacrifice of, because I am in agreement with the sense of that it is not a legislative position. Like, I'm in agreement with that. But at the end of the day, whatever it takes for us to move it forward to get to the next level, I'm kind of working with that too as well. Let me recognize Attorney Bissonnette.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick reminder that the recommendation coming out of Charter and Rules from Monday night, after all the amendments, would have it read that it proposes to change the position of elected treasurer to one who was appointed effective January 1st, 2026, with such qualifications, terms of office, appointment, removal, and duties as specified by city ordinance. This basically takes the job description out of the charter, as would be the same with the CAFO, the Director of Public Works. Essentially, it removes it from the charter and allows, just like the Department of Finance and the CAFO, to be a creation of ordinance, so you don't have to go back to the legislature anytime you want to change it.
Okay.
But this isn't about the appointment of the CAFO. All of those appointments to whatever end result does come, would be hashed out by ordinance. That's not this. That gives everyone still the option to state their points, to discuss their arguments, and to look at the entire picture. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
The charter and rules vote got 2 no votes and 1 yes vote.
Okay.
It did not pass.
You are recognized, Counselor Bacon. You have anything else to say?
I was just at the meeting, so I want to make sure the record is clear.
And I've just recognized you. Do you have anything else to add? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor McGrath-Smith.
I feel like we've gone far afield from the item in front of us, which is about the CAFO position. And I understand it is in context to other choices that we may or may not make as a body. And there are just 2 points that I wanted to respond to. I taught U.S. History 1 for 10 years. It's a civics course. And I think that everyone in this room is concerned with checks and balances. And my reading of it may be different than others, but that doesn't mean that I'm not concerned with checks and balances. I am. But when I look at, I was making my flow chart while you were describing it because I wanted one. And I can see that right now we have, if we move forward with this plan, a CAFO, which would be an appointment by the mayor, and we have a chief procurement officer that's appointed by the mayor, yes. We have the chief assessor that's appointed by the council. We have the city auditor appointed by council, and we would have a combined treasurer collector appointed by the mayor with confirmation approval by council. I hear real checks and balances there. And so it is not that I'm not concerned with checks and balances. It's that I have done the math in my own mind around where that balance is, and I believe it is here. That's why I feel confident moving forward with these rules and the way that we are describing them. So I just don't want the public to think from this conversation that there's a choice to have checks and balances or to not have them, because I do think that there is a way to move forward here, seeing that there is balance. That being said, I know that people talked about charter and rules a lot tonight. It will certainly come up at council for full discussion. It was a robust discussion. Anyone can go back in and watch the video. There's a lot of back and forth around whether it made sense to have appointment power by the council or by the mayor, or whether to leave it completely neutral. And I think the issue with keeping it completely neutral and not naming the appointment body is twofold. One, I really don't believe that the state legislature will agree to a home rule petition where we do not specify where we're removing power, but not who we're giving it to. I don't think it will fly. And my second piece is that as a voter, if you ask me to give up my power to elect someone and you won't tell me who you're giving that power to, I would in no way feel comfortable voting for that. And I would tell everyone that it's okay to not vote, but, to approve a position if they don't know where they're giving the power to. I don't think it's appropriate to ask the voters to give up their power without knowing whom they're giving it to. It needs to be on the ballot question. And it cannot be on the ballot question through ordinance. It has to be set through the home rule petition. That's where the ballot language is drafted. So we have to decide before it goes to a home rule petition whether we want it to be appointment power by council or by the mayor. It's about ballot, and it's about the home rule petition process. So the other piece, and it was named in charter, is just that in terms of timeline here, we're trying to move forward so that this can go on the ballot for this election coming up in November. Because if we don't move quickly to get this to the state legislature so they can go through their process to accept or reject our petition to put this on the ballot, we would put voters in the unenviable position of having to, on the same ballot, elect a treasurer and also vote whether they want to have the power to elect a treasurer or not, which is really complicated and confusing for voters. So, just to clarify a few points. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Tessa Murphy-Ramboletti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just first want to thank you for doing a great job tonight. This has not been an easy meeting, and I appreciate it as someone who also facilitates lots of meetings. So thank you. I usually try to stay quiet and just listen to a lot of these meetings. I need to clarify two things because my name was mentioned. So yes, I did. I have talked to the mayor about this before. I've heard him talk about it before. I am the city council president, so I do have conversations with the mayor that don't involve everyone. But I also want to say that I don't actually, I'm not pushing an agenda. I'm actually just trying to implement what the state has recommended to us for years. And to be honest, like everything about tonight, Counselor Rivera, you've done a great job trying to facilitate this meeting, and I appreciate everyone's opinions. But the way that we're talking to each other, the way that we're treating each other, including the mayor, the way that we're all talking to each other, it's not how we're going to get things done. And we have someone from the state here, and I appreciate, Marcia, what you've said. And so I wanted to clarify one that yes, I do have conversations with the mayor, but my intentions are not because the mayor is telling me something to do. It's more about if something's not going to pass because the mayor doesn't agree with it and the state's not going to be in favor of that. Why are we going to move something forward? Second, I just also wanted to clarify that I didn't work any language into the order that I filed. I filed an order that the mayor should appoint the treasurer with city council confirmation, not without it. And we did change. I like to think that I was actually pretty middle of the road. I got some pushback from folks that I was compromising too much. So I really felt like I needed to say that because tensions are high. We all have a lot of emotions about this, but at the same time, we need to just try to stick to what's on the agenda, what's before us. And if folks were not able to be at the meeting on charter and rules, then I encourage folks to watch that, especially from the public. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. So on the motion, which the motion was to move to full council the item 9, that the position of chief administrator and financial officer be created and added to Schedule A. The motion was seconded, and we just had discussion. So I guess for a roll call vote, Counselor Vacan,
No.
Counselor McGrath-Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Bartley,
No.
and then Counselor Rivera. Yes, so that is a 2-2. It does not pass to move forward, so it will.
Motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Roll call. Counselor Vacan,
Yes.
Counselor McGrath-Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Bartley,
Yes.
Counselor Rivera. Yes. 4 yeas. The motion is tabled. That was a great discussion.
Mr. Chair, can I just make a point of personal privilege?
Counselor Bartley.
I too think you're doing a great job. and I don't think I wish there was, I don't want to point of personal privilege. I wish there was a camera in room 1. I'm sure everybody sits around there holding hands, and I'm sure voices are never raised in room. I couldn't even imagine that.
I'll
it's just
install
not-
one and see what we're doing there on a daily basis. Not
So what,
That's what we have to deal with. All good.
what we have left?
What do you need? We need a motion.
I think item 5 or item. We still got to cover item 5, 6, and
Well, which ones?
10 and 11.
You want 5 taken up?
Yeah, let's just do 5.
Motion to remove number 5 from the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Counselor Vacan, your hand is raised. Before I read, or you want me to read first?
I'll wait.
All
Thank
right,
you.
this order was filed by former Counselor McGee. Order that an ordinance be established to address the 2/3 majority vote of the body of votes. We're waiting for legal to provide language. I don't think I have that in front of me. Do you guys? Okay. That's number 5. Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys.
Guys, get home safe.
So I'll give you guys a quick second to review it.
Oh, wow.
Number 5.
No, I heard you, but. Can,
And this is 2 languages because we asked for 2 languages.
no, you're,
Oh, you only see 1? What?
Mr. Chair, can I just go through you to ask a question for legal?
Yes,
You
go
mind?
ahead, Councilor Bartley.
Okay. Mike, are you there?
Sir.
And Mike, I want you to know how much I respect you, and I think you're doing a great job too, buddy, okay?
Appreciate it.
Okay. So, Mike, I did not receive this draft language until 8/19. I didn't see it. So, can that be before us, the draft language for this order? In other words, we didn't get it in terms of the open meeting law stuff. I'm asking it in all seriousness. So clearly the agenda was set, but the draft language was not submitted to the clerk in a timely fashion to comply with open meeting law. Consequently, can we review this draft language?
As long as it's on the agenda, I don't see why not.
If you say so. Okay.
Doesn't
that's-
have to specify word for word what's going to be discussed,
Okay.
but
Thanks,
now
Mike.
it becomes part of the record since it's been brought up at the meeting.
Thank you, Mike.
So, 1 second now. Now, real quick, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Since it's brought up at the meeting now, though, right? Like, are we still safe then? Because it sounds like.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Oh, yes.
All right. Thank you. So, yeah. I thought that we had asked for 2 languages for this particular
We
order,
absolutely did.
and I only see 1. Counselor Vacan, yes, your hand was raised.
Thank you. And yes, you made my point for me, and I appreciate that. And I would also like to further clarify that what we were seeking in the legal language was to codify our rule for a 2/3 vote being required to change ordinances. And this legal form that we have before us is very broad. It doesn't speak to ordinances and it doesn't address our rules. So I'm hoping that legal will come back to us with a more complete legal form and the 2 forms we requested on the point of the rule for passing ordinances, please.
Thank you, Counselor Vacan. And again, just for the public, the request for the two different legal languages is one, as Counselor Vacan had just mentioned, was to codify the former council rule, and versus codifying the opinion that came up, or the ideology of the opinion, which is either you vote as a 13-person body or you vote by the body that's present in the seats while the voting is present. So I guess for now we'll entertain a motion that is tabled until we get the language.
So moved.
Wait,
Well,
1 second. Counselor Bartley?
yeah, to the chair, I just, so can I just for the chair's consideration?
You got the chair. You got the
Well,
thing.
it says here, unless otherwise provided for by Mass General Law or the Charter, all measures that require a 2/3 supermajority vote for passage shall be deemed passed. Okay, that's not what this order says by Mr. McGee. So this language,
Yeah,
this language is completely imprecise. And I don't get it. That's point 1. So that tells me there's an agenda somewhere, Mr. Chair. And we were talking about power dynamics. Okay, I would just ask the chair to chew on that. Second of all, we know that the chair, we've specifically said in the meeting, and I have it in my notes, that we wanted a language for the 2/3 and language for the majority. And not with these little contingencies about unless otherwise provided MGL, and 2/3 is not a supermajority, so stop saying that. Supermajority is 3/4. Everybody knows that. So 2/3 is the supermajority is when it's 3/3, like they have in that really weird thing in 40A when we're doing zoning stuff. Okay, That's the supermajority. So I don't want to see supermajority in this again. That's just me. I'm one vote, and I get it. But I just want to see the language be precise, similar to what our city council rules say now. Why is this being complicated by throwing in MGL?
There should be two languages. So one of them should be what you're asking for.
And one should be what you wanted to see, and then we're gonna
We hash it out from there.
Yeah, we'll hash it out. Yeah,
Councilor McGrath Smith, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate one point that Councilor Bartley made, that I believed that we had specified that the language for supermajority should be removed and then it should just be 2/3, and that we had asked for two sets of language in order to look at it. One where it would say it was passed if 2/3 of those members present and voting vote in favor of the measure, and the other if it was 2/3 of based on the whole membership.
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
So it's just not what we asked for. And so I just think we have to table it until we receive the two drafts that we've asked for.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, just to further clarify, this is only a rule around voting on ordinances.
Right.
It's not a rule about voting on everything. Thank you.
Yep. So we will entertain a motion. Oh, we already did table. This is a second. Okay, under discussion.
No discussion.
Boom, boom. Okay, next level is on the roll call. Councilor Bacon, you raised your hand.
Yes, no, that was a mistake.
Okay, so then Councilor Bacon.
Yes.
Okay, Councilor McGrath Smith.
Yes.
Councilor Bartley.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Rivera, yes. Item 5 is tabled, and hopefully we get the language that we were supposed to get the last time. I hope I didn't have to re-say that, right?
No, we're good. They know, because that was from the last meeting, so.
Okay.
What do you want? You want to take 6 now?
Yeah, we'll do 6.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to remove agenda item 6 from the table.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 6 was filed by Councilor Jordan. This one is order that the ordinance relative to payment of city lifeguards be revised so as to make sure we are being competitive to other communities and highly competitive employment of summer lifeguards. Moreover, that the aquatics director and our other reps, recreation department, be invited to Ordinance Committee. There was, I believe, there's supposed to be language on that too. And there is no paper attached. Councilor Bacon, go ahead.
So if I'm remembering correctly, I believe they're listed on one of the salary listings, maybe it's C. And we had asked the question if there were other positions that were affected by that. And that just came in and we tabled it tonight.
Well, yes, but they didn't do C. They only did A and B.
Right, but I think, I'm not positive, but I think the lifeguards are on C.
I believe you're correct on that. I believe they may be on C, and what they had mentioned, you are correct, that they were going to work on that or whatnot. I think the problem
Right.
that we have is that they have it sounds like in the last meeting that they pretty much promised the raises to the employees, and you that's got to be set by city ordinance. So it's either we have the discussion of bringing it up to where they kind of promised the raises to, or we got to have the conversation on what is going to be the number that we put forward. So the language was putting, or wherever it was, I think it landed with them actually bringing it to the level that they're saying that they're going to pay them for the summer.
Right, and then we were wondering if there were other positions that were affected by that portion of the
Yes.
pay sheet. If we changed theirs, would we be changing others?
That came up for other situations, but I don't believe that was that for that particular thing. But I think we can table.
Maybe Damaris can help us.
Yeah, well, Damaris is still here. That is true. Damaris,
Yeah.
you're still here. Wow. Damaris.
I'm still here.
Yeah, you didn't have to stay. You know that, right? Like we filed your order. We did yours first, specifically.
Yeah, I know.
But thank you for being here.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you. So on this particular order, are you familiar with it, with the lifeguards?
A little bit. I believe they do fall under Schedule C under temporary and seasonal employees, and it would affect other people if they got increases.
But they did. Thank you, Councilor Bartley.
just, I think what the chair said, and I'll stand corrected, at the last meeting was, we almost have to back into it now and just put the ranges together.
Right.
I think that's all, we just need to see the revised ranges, salary ranges, and then we can go ahead and ship this right up to city council. Now, I'm of the opinion that this is like uncomplicated, but whenever I say that, it comes back and hammers me right in the backside. So I would say, when's our next ordinance meeting? And let's just
2 weeks.
Well, there you go. So I'm just saying, we could get it for next ordinance meeting.
That's what I was gonna
And
say.
we're
It was
still way
table.
ahead of the pool.
I was gonna say
swimming pool season.
table it for now, and then the next meeting, hopefully they got the language.
Okay, so you want a motion?
Yeah, if everyone is cool under discussion.
I'm good.
Motion to table.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Counselor Bacon,
Yes.
Counselor McGrath Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Bartley,
Sir.
and then Counselor Rivera, yes.
Okay, and what one do you want now?
I think we're at 10.
Motion to remove item 10 from the table, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Item 10 was filed, order that ordinance charter references to Assistant Superintendent Public Works be updated to Assistant Director of Public Works. This was tabled March 13th. There's no one here that
You got language?
I don't even think let me see, do we have language on the papers? Because Jeff had mentioned to me that we were missing a couple.
Sir, I don't have it.
Jeff,
Yes, sir.
so for item 10, there is no actual language attached to this one.
I did not receive language.
Okay, perfect. So then we will table.
Motion to table for language.
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Counselor Reagan,
Yes.
Counselor McGrath Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Bartley.
Yes, sir.
And Counselor Rivera. Attorney Bissonnette, your hand is raised?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe the position of Assistant Superintendent of Public Works is referenced in the charter anywhere. And I do believe that we did switch the title of Assistant Superintendent to Assistant Director in our ordinances, as it's one of the few that's actually up to date, that system. So I'm not sure that this is actually needed anymore as an order. I think it's been taken care of.
Okay. Jeff, is there any way we can confirm, just to be clear?
I do recall when superintendent was changed to director. I don't recall if the assistant was changed at the same time. That's something we would have to go back and look at. I know the order was filed just for the sake of mirroring the change that did happen with the superintendent.
Okay, so then maybe we could
We'll leave it tabled.
Yeah, table until we can find out what it is, Jeff, and then if we find out that it's already been dealt with, we put it back on and just leave it complied with. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, but we already did the vote anyway, so we'll move
Yeah.
on to the next.
I'll make a motion to take up item 11.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 11 was filed by Councilor Givner, Devine, and Rivera. Order that add the position of city engineer to ordinance schedule A, grade 13.
Okay.
Is language for that one?
Schedule A?
Yeah.
Is Damaris here still?
Yes, Damaris is still here. There is nothing attached.
No, but we have Schedule A, though.
Yeah, we do have schedule A.
Just trying to find it. At one point I had it.
I had it too. I can't find it.
Number 7?
Oh, here it is. Oh, it's not number 7. Okay. 6, 8. That's why.
Can I?
Thank you. So for schedule A, go ahead, Damaris. Your hand is raised. You could go ahead and do your thing. My bad.
I just want to reiterate that I did not include that position
Oh.
in Schedule A.
Okay.
because it was still in the works and talking
Oh.
about it,
Okay. That helps
but it
us.
would, just for clarification.
That
Thank you.
totally helps. Really appreciate that. So entertain a motion to possibly table then,
Can I just hear
Councilor Bartley.
can I just hear the rationale to do that, if you would, just ever so brief, Mr.
Oh,
Chair?
to table?
No, to put this position of city engineer, because right now, it's my understanding that it's in a
It's in a
position
union.
group? A union group, a position?
Yeah,
Is that
it
my
was. I
understanding?
think the last time we spoke about it, what it was is that it wasn't technically supposed to be in the group.
So this is just a correct,
They're correcting a wrong in a sense and moving it out of the union group and putting it into Schedule A.
okay, man.
Councilor.
Well, okay, so do we need to get something from the present union to just language saying that this position is no longer, was erroneously put in a union? I don't know what we can change the language all we want in ordinance, but if you're saying that the city engineer was in a union, which now I'm remembering what we said last time, because I'd never heard of that when we brought up the last time. And so do we need a communication from a union? Is there something that's,
I mean,
you have to relinquish it, in other words?
I would defer that to Attorney Bissonnette, but under the yeah, go ahead, Attorney Bissonnette. I'm not a lawyer, so go ahead, do your thing.
To table it, there's going to be ongoing discussions with the PSA, the Professional Supervisors Association. Not sure the history of how this position, which is created under the charter, was actually brought into the supervisors. There's an argument to be made that it's also now the Assistant Director of Public Works, which is a management position. So that's going to be discussed at some length over the next week or two, and hopefully there'll be a resolution. I'd ask you to table it tonight so we can report back to you on that.
Perfect, thank you. So,
So-
go ahead, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I got the sense from DPW that there was urgency relative to this in terms of trying to recruit somebody, and, we had discussed a possible workaround, but is that level of angst diminished? If you know Attorney Bissonnette, maybe that applicant from 3 months ago is no longer interested, I don't know.
Someone who has spent quite some time, Counselor, on our sewer-related discharge permits with the EPA and the state DEP in the absence of an engineer, I can assure you that there is no less intense need for an engineer.
So,
Know something.
and they wanted it to go into 13 so that they could have a competitive salary rate, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's one of the difficulties, because in the association, you're competing against a number of professional positions.
right,
but,
so would it be reasonable for the committee to recommend it out to the council pending resolution of the union-related questions satisfactorily? I mean, would that be a reasonable thing to
Be
do
a
at this
positive
point?
step, yes. Be a very positive step, I think.
Okay, so that's the
Mr.
motion?
Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we forward this to council pending the ability to resolve the open union questions for adoption, once those are resolved, or if they are resolved.
Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second that, sure.
On the discussion? On the motion? Roll call vote, Bacon,
Yes?
McGrath Smith,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes, sir.
Rivera, yes. 5 yeas, then it moves to to the full council with the recommendation that as long as we figure out, the union and the HR figures out, the situation, then it'll move forward. If not, then we'll have to wait. The last motion for now, and again, I'll reiterate, as I did at the last meeting, that the agenda also has a variety of items that are still on the table. When we get a chance to get to these items, we will get to them. But for the most part, we're working on a lot of the items that, for now, we have to kind of create policy around. And a lot of these actually, we got to get on to too. So we will start doing these too as well moving forward.
And again, excellent job. And Ms. McGrath, excellent job by you the other night too. I thought you were an excellent chair. So, I mean, I would never, and believe me, I would never just say it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Councilor Murphy
motion to adjourn?
Ramboletti, before we go.
I just wanted to say, Counselor Bartley, you did a great job the other night too. So if
Here we
we're,
go.
Oh, you
Oh,
did,
I got
actually.
your text.
At full
I got
council,
your
you
text.
if we're giving out compliments, I'm gonna do it.
did.
There you go.
Yeah, kumbaya. Yeah.
Kumbaya.
So,
Mike, you already had love earlier on. So
That's me.
you got your love.
so the last one is motion to what? Adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Nah, second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Roll call vote for that
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Great job, Iz.
Yeah, right. My wife is at home texting, my phone died. She's like,
Yeah, but you're getting home in another hour.
and my wife texts me, she's like, get that meeting under control.